Welcome. My name is Audra Snyder with Hughes Exterminators, and we're proud to be a sponsor of today's session on CRMs with Christine Beckwith. Christine, Buffy Beckwith, is an award-winning executive sales leader who has spent 30 years in the mortgage finance industry. A best-selling and award-winning author, Christine branched out in 2018 to begin her dream job as the founder and president of 2020 Vision for Success Coaching and Consulting. After breaking many glass ceilings in the mortgage and banking industry, Christine is now a columnist for magazines and is a special correspondent anchoring the news and interviewing experts in her industry. She's the publisher of a successful industry-themed duo of magazines and an advocate for women dedicating a complete division in her own company to the cause amongst many causes and communities she touches at a vast level. Christine is active on the national speaking circuit, lecturing on topics including her expertise in finance and sharing her personal stories of inspiration and motivation while delivering both tactical and practical advice. Over the span of Christine's 30-year career, she consistently ranked in the top 5% of the respective sales teams, beginning with her years as an originator all the way through the sales ranks in many layers of branch, reaching eventually regional, then senior leadership roles. She has been coined by MPA Magazine the Gordon Ramsay of banking coaches for her ability to take companies and teams to superior financial success. Christine will tell you that writing, teaching, and speaking are the core of who she is, enabling a legacy to work with a commitment to make a difference in the lives of the professionals and youth everywhere. Christine is a mother, a girlfriend, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a homemaker, and a lover of laughter, good health, home, and heritage. She calls herself a happy human. Please welcome Christine.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint. Thank you for that incredible introduction. I always say, as I get older and older, my introduction gets longer and longer, but it's always wonderful to reflect when I get introduced on all the work that I've done. So I want to thank Jessica Peterson for inviting me here, and of course, your wonderful organization. It's such a pleasure and an honor. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming a failed CRM, which is something I have spoke on major circuits about, having rolled out a technology that failed, but would be re-rolled to incredible success. So we're going to walk through that this morning. I'm also going to be giving you, at the end of the CRM presentation, which is only about 20-25 minutes long, a quick 15-minute overview of my TED Talk, The V Factor, and give you general success tips for your business. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, the reason that I share this technology speech is that I have been a person for 30 years that has been both receiving corporate roll down technology implementation, and also for 21 years, the person being the advocate for corporate technology roll down. I did not reside in the technology divisions of or departments of the companies that I worked for. In fact, I always had sales and executive sales leadership roles. But where all of the seats of our organizations touch, both on operation and sales to technology, was where I would find myself project managing and interfacing the very essence of whether or not technology could be adapted. So I have this slide up just to make us think a lot about it. And I want you to think about how technology affects you. My tagline for 2020 Vision for Success Coaching is emotional awakening through education. So I hope this morning you've had your coffee and you have yourself settled in to receive conscious learning today. One of the things that I pride myself in is keeping people engaged. So the irony of this speech is going to tell a story about disengagement. And it's going to start from a place where implementation occurs through webinar. And then it's going to talk about how people do not consciously sit and learn. So if you're on the other side of this education right now or watching this on a playback from a recording, I would tell you that it's really important that you sit with all distractions eliminated. One of the challenges that I have every single day is that I spend 4 to 5 hours counseling and coaching executives. During that part of my day, I sit in a counseling studio that has no electronics. So it allows me to focus solely on the person that I'm speaking to with great presence, attention, and focus. That allows me to hear them and actually absorb the things that they're saying. I pride myself on increasing the national statistic of 40% received information or learned tactics, which is the average a person receives when they're attending a webinar, and getting a greater percentage by having you stay engaged, by sharing personal stories through tactical tips, and being a person that can help you resonate through metaphoric language and analogies that I'll share as we roll along and teach. I want you to start today by thinking of a time when you had to adapt a technology. We know that technology takes us from where we are to another place where there is an intended outcome for the implementation. Where we intersect and where we receive and both deliver this information. And you may find yourself on both sides of this topic somewhere in your career. You may navigate to a place where technology advances your family's technology, not just a CRM or something that you have to do at work. Sometimes we're moving our cable stations at our homes to technology that is now smart TVs. Sometimes we're upgrading and updating our iPhones and moving to new technology, and suddenly everything we know has changed. And the very buttons that we're pressing on our iPhones have changed. And the one thing that resonates with change is our resistance to that change and our desire to be in control of what we've learned. We have a right of execution in our minds when we begin to operate faster. So what happens when we're operating every single day is a lot of our motion is repetitive. If you've ever considered yourself a person that is doing autopilot every single day in many facets of your day, then that just makes you normal. Sometimes we even get in vehicles and we drive somewhere, a common path, maybe taking our kids to school even, where the repetitiveness of that has us in our subconscious mindset where we're just on autopilot, and suddenly we arrive at our destination and we don't remember actually driving there. So what's happening in our brains, and I start here with mindset, is that we have both conscious and subconscious learning that is occurring, and also awareness in the activities that we do. So as a teacher and as an executive, I am going to tell you a story that happened to me during the course of executive leadership, where I was overseeing about 700 professionals. My job was to take a proprietary CRM for our company and roll it out. So I did what everybody does when they are about to announce something. I, of course, dove in and examined what the tool was and what the efficiencies were that were going to be created. I would then set up training, hold those meetings, and then roll that technology forward. Over the next 3 to 6 months, as we measured monthly, we began to see that there were problems. Those problems looked like people that were engaging, having issues with the technology. They were putting in IT tickets to our corporate office, and we were seeing that they were challenged in how the system operated. We also saw them not participate. So some people just didn't want to adapt to the technology and kept doing what they had already been doing. Other people were using it, but not efficiently and getting poor results. So as the months rolled on and I met with the executive team who I was reporting back to, my reports were rather dim about the activities and the results that we had hoped and anticipated. The cost of this implementation was almost $700,000 for our firm. So you can imagine the ROI we expected and the money invested was obviously something that we were paying very close attention to. We reached an intersection where we had to make a decision. about whether we would go forward and stick with the plan, even though at about the 6-month mark, we knew we were repeatedly getting poor results, and what that would look like. It's never easy when a firm has to decide to re-roll something out. And this can be applied to all things in life that you do in business. It doesn't just have to be technology. We should pilot the things that we do, and we should decide what the duration of that time looks like, how we're going to measure it, and then whether it's effective. I put here the technology mindset is that technology connects us, it unites us, and technology amplifies our power. That is a quote by Vivian Haar. So let's move into why people fail to adapt. People resist the adaptation of technology because of an inner belief that their current way of doing things is faster, better, easier, and likely to cause them less issues with better results. The facts are, technology, when learned and adapted, will accelerate, measure, capture, propel, and create crucial efficiencies while delivering typically greater, more consistent service with unparalleled results. So we know this as leaders, that these are the things that deter us. And that certainly was the case in the story that I just shared. So I want to talk now about rolling technology tips and now move to the positive side of this story. And there is a very positive outcome to how this all went. And today, still, that CRM is successfully operating as I sit here talking to you with enormous ROI. So the end of the story would be very successful. But the steps that it would take to acknowledge and move forward were very difficult. I want to start from where I left off and explain that at the intersection of 6 months, when we looked at this technology, we had to make a decision as a senior leadership team how we moved forward. We had people that were loudly unhappy about the technology. We were not getting the ROI. We had people that were failing to actually engage. And so as we sat there, we decided and committed to the proprietary owner of the CRM that we would examine the results further, and we would do one of two things. And that was to understand whether or not the reason for the failure was us or their technology. That examination would lead us to looking at 82 IT tickets that had come into our department saying that the system didn't work in one way or another. When we looked at the 82 tips, or the 82 tickets rather, what we discovered was user error 90% of the time. Now, had we just taken that at the surface level, and I am a big advocate of vetting problems that are brought to you. Years ago, when I was a young manager, I would have people come to me emotional and upset about various things that were going on in the workplace. And when they would, of course, my reaction was to quickly resolve the problem at hand. We all want to help each other resolve our problems. When that intersection would come, often I would jump into resolving that issue. So if someone had said X had happened, I would immediately go to fix it. The problem with doing that is that I hadn't examined yet or not whether X actually was true. And that is not to say that people that are emotional or people that are bringing us complaints or escalating them are not telling the truth. It's to tell us that we must know 100% that the problem that's being presented to us is in fact truly happening. When you see people that are using "this always happens," "this never happens," "this happens forever," those are very emotional words. Ever, forever, never, always. So when you hear those should alert you as a manager that maybe there's some emotion behind the statement. For instance, in our field with so many tasks needing to be done, sometimes like one bad transaction that's occurring or an 11th hour condition, we can actually say, well, this happens all the time. And then in fact, what really is happening is it's happened maybe 2 times of the last 12 times. So that isn't always. So I say this example to you because I needed to go examine the IT tickets. Had I looked and saw that we had 82 IT tickets, I would have thought we had big systematic technology problems. Because I was willing to examine the tickets and the outcomes of those IT tickets, I found that user error was at fault. User error points to training, and it points to the fact that people are operating under the technology without pulling the levers correctly. In our case, an example, the people were pulling those levers of putting in IT tickets because in their CRM, when they would pick a message to go out to their clients, it was the wrong message often reaching their clients. Maybe they had a home buyer that was shopping, and the CRM should have been encouraging them and telling them we were hoping they were finding their dream home. And in fact, it said something different. And it was a misalignment, and it wasn't properly speaking to the client. CRMs have laser focus, proper language, but there are two things that people operating them need to do. They need to read the messages that are going out, and they need to select the proper nurture campaign. And that was not being done. And that was known to be a training issue. Because we vetted that problem and we discovered that, we went back then to the training in a reverse engineering mindset and looked at the training that was performed. We had done 3 webinars at different times to allow people from all different time zones to attend. There was about 40% of the national sales force that actually attended. We further could tell attention rates on the webinar. So when you minimize your screen, you may not know this, it actually puts you in the analytics of most webinars as disengaged. If you don't minimize your screen and you stay attentive to the webinar and it stays full screen, it is an engaged, it's catching engaged percentages. Typically, you can tell down to the seat how much of the webinar the person actually left full screen. You can also tell if a person took another phone call in the case that they muted, unmuted, or if they're using analytic phone lines. That gives you an engagement percentage. And what ended up happening is I could see that our attention during the webinars was very poor and our attendance to the webinars were very poor. So when that multifaceted vetting of the problem came into view, the entire storyline of our failed CRM changed. It went from us listening to the people that were using it and telling us the system didn't work properly, all the way to realizing that we had not demanded the proper attendance to our training. We hadn't ensured that every single person received it. We hadn't demanded their full attention in receiving it. And we hadn't checked yet as to whether or not they actually adapted and understood the actual levers that they needed to pull to have accuracy, or warn them if they pulled the wrong levers, what would happen. So we rolled out a second time. And in doing that, we created a pilot with a group of champions. If you want a system rollout to work right, find your most productive people and find the people that are most highly respected in your organization. You want to give them a period of time. In our case, had we given 60 days to our top 10% of producers, which is what we would later do, we would have found that they would have happily been our champions. We put them in a subgroup when we re-rolled out. We announced to the whole company we were sticking with the CRM that we had examined, and we shared our results of the examination, that this was a failure to train properly, and a failure of engagement, and a failure of user error. And so with that, we restarted. We asked the top 10% of producers and managers in the company to participate in a private pilot where they would examine, take the training, fully engaged, and then go to work using the system the way it was intended properly. We went over the IT ticket findings, and we were able to show them where the mistakes were made. They would begin to do that pilot. And of course, within that 60-day time frame, we began to see the CRM working as it should. In fact, there were 42 people in the top 10% of the sales force that were doing the pilot, and they were all beginning to already get leads within weeks of learning the proper nurture statuses on this program. So the interesting part of this story is we immediately saw results when the 42 people took the engagement, the training, and learned it properly. So the difference in the second rollout is we took a roll call at the beginning of the rollout. We made sure we knew who had not attended, and we also followed up properly with the non-attendees and gave them a recording of the training. We then asked them to acknowledge that they had watched the entire training, and we actually spent time answering all questions. We had a higher frequency of check-in. So we went from monthly check-ins to weekly check-ins, where we spent 1 hour with the team examining what they found in the last 7 days. That allowed us to get quicker to resolution problems and keep engagement really high. And so as these people began to see immediate results, they would champion our program. We took testimonials from them and shared them with the rest of the organization while waiting to roll out to the rest of the organization our technology. And then, of course, we listened to them and we performed tweaks about what it was they saw that would help make our CRM better. One thing was they felt the guide to picking the nurture campaigns needed to be in several places within the technology. It resided in a resource center for us. And so we took it and we made wizards that appeared on every screen where they could easily click on and see their nurture campaigns at any intersection of the CRM. And that helped them to know what campaigns they should be using. I told you that we measured training attendance, and that very first measurement of implementation has to be who shows up for attendance. Today, as the president of 2020 Vision for Success Coaching, I do between 5 and 10 webinars a month, not me personally, but guest coaches and mastermind coaches. And we measure the attendance of our organization. We know who comes, a box gets checked off, and who doesn't. In our case, because coaching is an opt-in and a purchase platform for us, it is not mandatory to attend our webinars. There are mandatory facets of their coaching, what we consider their core curriculum and their core coaching. And so we do measure that, and we do follow up if they don't attend those things. We are well aware every single week if there are non-attendees to essential level coaching. That is part of us making sure that people are engaging and doing what they should. And I want to state the obvious here and tell you that if you have a brand that you care about, if your real estate brokerage is something you really are proud of, then the things that you put forward that touch clients and touch services, and in our case, the CRM definitely touched our B2B clients, which were you, realtors. And then of course, if it's touching your B2C clients, you want to make sure it's going to go well and that that service is portrayed well. And so it's really, really important. This is a really important thing. When investing in technology, you must first ensure everyone comes to hear about the rollout and implementation. So I want people that take my coaching to leave with good testimonials. If I have somebody that leaves disengaged and never took my curriculum or didn't attend their core coaching, they are now a person walking around that can't really speak for what my organization delivers. And that is a threat to my brand. So the engagement is not just about them receiving the goodness that they came to get, or your employees receiving the goodness that you're trying to implement, but also your brand and how you protect your brand from testimonials. And that is why it's so important to have execution. I have been putting out successful testimonials my entire career and addressing people that are a threat to my organizations over 30 years based on the fact that disengagement does not permit a person to give a proper testimonial. You must go over the pilot program results. If you do the pilot, that is the time when you begin to roll out that you bring the champions into the webinars and you let them be your advocates within those trainings. So when we began to roll to the greater sales force, we actually brought our 42 champions into those webinars and we promoted them leading up, and that you're going to hear from your peers, and we let the users on the street speak because that brings credibility. People want to know that the tools you're asking them to use are going to work and that other people that they look up to, high producers and people they respect, have used it and they've used it to great success. It was important for us to go over the pilot results and show how we came to a better rollout and what were the changes. And then, of course, the most important part of any training is understanding why something is being implemented. You must first address the number one question in human intellect: why do I need to do this? And so that is a key component and where your storyline starts in all cases. So as you move forward and you are putting out technology rollouts, I want you to remember that the process of technology implementation is that the system is followed and done right. So we give you 4 basic technology rollout steps here. First, sharing the vision, the why. Great leaders and companies will create a landscape for their employees to follow with clear steps. Obviously, my company's name is Vision for success coaching. And I believe that what makes people successful is understanding what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are. The very first thing that happens when we are coaching business professionals is that we ask them to lay out the landscape of their future vision. We don't dictate it to them. It isn't always production based. Sometimes it's life work balance. Sometimes they want to become the CEOs and less engaged at a lower level. But what is the vision? What ROI are you trying to capture? Is it currency? Is it happiness? Is it the ability to go faster or serve more people? But you need to lay out, when rolling out technology, the vision of what you hope to achieve as a company and as a branch for your people. You must have predefined intersections and milestones to measure success. This is going to be key. You have to know that you're going to be looking at this weekly and then monthly and sharing those results. Examination of results will be needed and published. You must share the results for the good or the bad. The problem a lot of times with rollouts is we want to hide what's bad. I will be the first to admit, in the first rollout of the story I just told you, for those first 6 months, it was very difficult for me not to want to share the bad results. I did not, want to share those bad results because you feel like you're failing. And so until we performed the examination, we didn't realize we weren't failing. We had failed to execute. And so there was a big difference there. Examination of the results will be needed and published. So don't be afraid as a teacher, leader, or a learner to admit that you need more training and you need better understanding to use technology. We tend to move so fast with things we're given. When we're handed our iPhones, a lot of times we know how to text, talk, call, use social media, take photographs, but there's so many things else on our phone that could be done and we don't use it at full capacity. The same is true when we're buying a new car. The sales guy sits in the front seat when he's handing you the keys or she's handing you the keys and goes over all the buttons on the dashboard. And you're just sitting there like, get out of my way, give me the keys, let's go. But as you drive away, you can't even figure out how to connect your phone to the Bluetooth. A lot of times we're hurried. We want to just take the driver's wheel and go. But of course, when we do that, sometimes we're failing to learn and slow down. I teach something called the slingshot effect in learning. And that is a theory about slowing down or pulling back to go faster. Those are hard intersections to do. When scaling a company, taking time to train other people and add more people. So I would ask you, what technology today are you not fully using? Or what technology do you hope to use that you'll listen to better in your future? All of the tactics that you need so that you won't fail at properly executing. You can't put technology on autoplay until you are past the phase where adoption has occurred, results are rendering, and then you can say, okay, this is working with longer periods of examination. You can go from the weekly to the monthly examinations or the monthly to the quarterly examinations, never letting go of fully inspecting what you expect until you see results. That is your lift of the nose coming up off the runway of success and knowing that you're about to take flight. It has to come from results. We got that early in the second rollout, and we knew within 2 to 3 weeks of that rollout that the nose was coming up and we were about to fly with this technology. That is your marquee. You will create masterpieces in things that you implement and roll out, and the results will be stunning. Today, that CRM is responsible for more than $40 million in profit. It's been a period of 4 years, and it has rendered stunning results. Had we quit this implementation at the first sign of failure, at the 6-month mark when we thought it was broken and it was not working right, we would not have had success and missed all of this profit. We might have even adapted a second CRM from a different company and thought that it was the technology that was the problem. Re-rolled it out to more expense, investment, and failure. Think about that. We could have repeated the same mistake twice. Never mind the human damage. So keep in mind, when you don't discover the problems and as leaders fix those, you can continue to ask people to do things they don't like, don't understand, and feel frustrated about. Our jobs in leadership and education is to clear that mental mind path for them until they get to a point where they've asked every question. I know the personalities out there. I'm very type A, and I am the girl in the audience that will ask the most questions all the time, every time. But I'm also the person that people have come to rely on to carry the ball farther and higher than anybody else. So don't get deterred by those high question people. Those are your people that are showing you that they want to learn and that they want to be able to adapt to what they're getting and what they're rolling out. The details matter. Examining the effects of your implementation and rollout matter. Not seeing your vision, for instance, is often common in a rollout, and being collaborative is important. So I point out here, one of the greatest things you can do is sitting down and sharing your vision and getting people to collaborate with you, and then adding their comments and ideas into it. That will be key for your success. So measure your results and celebrate your victories. I'm going to stop here and move over to my second PowerPoint, where I'm really happy today to be sharing another great lecture that I do called the V Factor, where you're going to get business tips. I welcome you to provide comments or questions during any of this. And if you have any, we have allotted time at the end of this presentation so that we are able to, of course, answer any questions that you might have. So this lecture is called the V Factor, the Scaling Edition. And this is my Simon Sinek TED Talk. I'm going to just pause for one moment to check the chat line right now and just make sure that, of course, there aren't any questions, or ask Gina if you could be my eyes with my navigation between, toggling between, and tell me if in fact there, I'm going to actually stop share because I can't see the chat line, and just ensure if there are anyone that has questions from the attendee group or not. Okay, I do not see anybody that has questions right now, but Gina, please stop me and let me know if you do. I really appreciate everybody sticking with me, and thank you so much. All right, very good. I will, okay, a chat did come up. Do you have Cliff Notes or action guides for us? So you're welcome to take my PowerPoint. Great question from my wonderful co-author, Jessica Peterson, who I wrote a best-selling book with. Hi, Jessica. I have given this PowerPoint to the organization, so they can certainly take those with them and use the presentation. So great question. Happy to share and pay that forward, of course. All right, I'm going to quickly go through this. This is a whole hour lecture if I were to do the full lecture. So what I'm going to do today is just talk to you quickly about the success, my V Factor, and have you enjoy what it is that we do here. I am having trouble with, I'm going to stop share and go back one more time. See, we're having technology issues right now. It's not, we're going to go from the beginning. I'm going to lower the size of the screen. There they go. And the buttons showed up. All right. See, solved my own technology program. All right. I do a lecture called the V Factor, and it's my Simon Sinek tips on what I think makes people successful. And that is vision, vitality, and velocity. So it's not that simple. It took me years and years to decide what the factors are for people's success. And writing this particular speech was one that I've done. And I've actually changed it since I first even wrote it over the last year. So I challenge myself every single year to write new programs. I've written over 100 lectures to date that I share, but this one is by far receiving one of the most popular responses. And it really is just thought-provoking, why people fail. We just talked about some of that a little bit. Jessica, you can see the screen, right? I'm going to ask you, since Gina's not responding, to chat quickly and just give me a yes if you can, in fact, see my PowerPoint. And for some reason, I can't. Can you unmute and just give me a verbal, because the chat box won't open while my PowerPoint's up for some reason.
Hey, Christine. Yeah, I'm still here and I can see your screen.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Gina. All right. Just making sure. There's nothing worse than if I was continuing to talk and not being seen. All right. So time and distance equals a business plan. And I've known for many years, I took over a failing team of 125 professionals, and I took 90 days to sit and examine with these professionals what, in fact, why they felt they were failing. And one of them was not having a vision of where they need to go. So that's business planning. So that's the very first place that we start with all professionals. You have to know where you're going to have great success. Vitality is the second one. And that's not only about your health and wellness, because you do need to be strong to run really healthy businesses. It's about your business health. How healthy is your business? Is it growing? How healthy is it perceived to be by people watching you run your business? That's also a part. And then velocity, which is less about speed and more about distance. Do you understand where you're going and how far it is to get there, and all the mile markers in between that it's going to take to measure to get to that success? So very quickly, turning your vision into action requires the start of obviously having a business plan. And so the very first thing that has to happen is you must create a target. And so I will also tell you that vitality has to matter to you. So do you care about the wellness and health? Of course we do, right? But how much of our daily activities do we put in to actually care about our business scaling healthy and looking healthy to others? Viability, health and wellness, growth in your business, and your ability to climb are all things that you need to examine. And then finally, do you have mile markers in place? For instance, today, Thursday, do you know what you need to do today in order to hit your goals for this month? Do you know how many phone calls or how many things and metrics that you need to measure to equal to a weekly set of sales goals or a monthly set of sales goals? Every member on my team has their own set of success measurements that they're measuring daily and weekly. And of course, I'm inspecting what I expect, which is me being their accountability partner. Finishing races is important, but racing is more important. So I want to just remind you that your vision, your ability to present a healthy company, to have that vitality and understand the distance is really important. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. I shared this image of me speaking at the Miami Garden Stadium for Gary Vaynerchuk. Some of you may or may not know Gary V. I had the great fortune of being asked to speak for him. But the real part that I share is not a brag, of course, but more about the distance it took for me to get on this stage. I had to change the direction of my social media. In 2016, I had no social media. I had 500 Facebook friends and I posted about once every 2 weeks. True story. In order to launch my coaching company, I understood I needed to learn modern marketing. I began to teach myself through free videos of all the social medias, how they worked, how the algorithms worked, how much to post, when to post, and all the engagement that I needed. And quickly, over 1 year, I amassed 80,000 followers on 7 social media channels, catching the attention of Gary Vaynerchuk and being able to be asked to be on the real estate influencer panel nationally at the Miami Garden Stadium. So I was in the audience, or seated in the audience were hundreds and hundreds of realtors that were there, thousands, to learn about the greatest marketers in modern marketing. And the people sitting on that stage are incredible. The first guy to my left is John C. Tolbert, who is the president of Four Seasons Hotel. And he had just launched his Belize opening. And he talked about lifestyle imaging and posting. I share this with you because in order for me to capture market share in social media, I had to change my direction. The other part I want to tell you is always remember your why, which was also in the first presentation. People need to know your why, need to buy into your why, and you need to remember yours. This is my fiance, Corey Parker. Also my 2 dogs, Charlie and Chica, and then my son, Jagger. They are by far the purpose that I come every single day to do great work, to share education. I made an exit from being an executive leader in the banking industry in 2018, not because I had to, but because I wanted to dedicate the final 10 years of my career to education and paying it forward. I am doing, in fact, every day, my legacy work that I very purposely have intended to do. And as a result, I am driving from a very personal place, and a place where, of course, I am highly focused on delivering great results. I hope that you picked up some tips today. I hope that you enjoyed the things that I shared. I hope that you feel motivated. I think we're ending a little early and that everybody's going to get a little bit of an extra break, but I checked with Gina and she said that that was absolutely okay this morning if that happened. I'm a real believer, speaking of Cliff Notes, in getting good education, not dragging it out, making the points, connecting with all of you, and then of course letting you take those and go implement them and execute. I will say, and finally ending, that my greatest success in helping individuals has come from reminding them that sitting at a webinar is the first step in everything you do. So if you took things today that you want to implement, make sure you do implement, take action, and execute, and then measure the success that you have. If any of you want to follow me, I am available on all the social medias. Our company name is out there. We have 2 Facebook groups, 20/20 Vision Your Success Coaching Facebook group, and also Women with Vision Facebook group. I'm also on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and I welcome you to connect and follow. We're always putting out excellent content, and we would love to see you out there. All right, Gina, that is all.
Thank you so much to everyone else. Feel free to take a little break. And then our next session will begin at 11. And you all know where to go to find your next session. And we'll see you then. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you, Gina. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jessica. Bye, everyone.